Here's day 17, Watchtower Foundations, as Maya and the villagers begin the next step in securing Eld Hollow's future. Day 17, Watchtower Foundations. Morning, a new dawn. With the council's decision fresh in everyone's minds, Maya rose early and walked through the morning mist to the site she had chosen, a gentle hill just beyond the bridge, offering a clear view of the valley and forest paths. She planted a wooden stake in the ground. "This is where we start," she whispered. Soon after, Rhea and Lila arrived, followed by the blacksmith Marvin, the stonecutter Etta, and nearly 24 villagers with tools and excitement in their eyes. Midday, laying the groundwork. Maya stood beside a rough sketch drawn in chalk on a flat stone, explaining the structure. The watchtower will be simple but strong. Stone base, timber upper floors. We'll use local pine, reinforced with iron joints from the forge. A fire basin will sit atop for night signals. Etta paced around the hill, muttering to herself before nodding. Soil's firm, it'll hold. With teamwork and coordination, the villagers began clearing the area. Stones were hauled, logs trimmed, and support beams prepped. Children ran errands, bringing water and food while excitedly watching the project unfold. Afternoon, unity in labor, sweat-covered brows, and laughter rang out as a group struggled to roll a massive foundation stone up the hill. Even Maya lent her shoulder, and with a final push, it clunked into place. Ree wiped her brow. "Feels like building more than a tower, like a future." Maya smiled. "Exactly. Something that'll watch over Eld Hollow long after we're gone." The first stone. As the sun dipped low, the villagers gathered in a circle. Tovrin, holding a ceremonial hammer passed down through generations, offered a simple blessing. "Let this tower rise with strength. Let its shadow be one of peace." Maya placed the first carved stone at the tower's base. The crowd cheered, not for the stone, but for what it represented, a stand for their freedom and their determination. Fires lit up the square that night again. A meal was shared. Songs were sung. Eld Hollow wasn't just surviving, it was building. Would you like to continue with day 18? Here is day 18, first timber frame of the watchtower, continuing Maya's journey of building a safer, united Eld Hollow. Day 18, first timber frame of the watchtower. Early morning, mist and resolve. The ground was still damp with morning dew as Maya stood on the hilltop, gazing at the stone foundation now firmly set into the earth. Birds called from the trees, and the distant clatter of carpentry tools echoed as the first work teams arrived. Ree trotted up the hill, carrying a measuring rope and a hammer, smiling wide. "Today's the day we raise the bones of this beast." Maya grinned. "Let's make it stand tall enough to see the future." Late morning, timber assembly. The carpenter crew, including Ree and her 2 apprentices, carefully aligned pre-cut pine logs shaped the day before. Each piece had been hand-smoothed and fitted with iron brackets from the forge. They laid the first long beam across the stone base, balancing it between temporary scaffolding. The villagers watched in silent anticipation as Maya personally drove in the first spike. Clang! 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 Cheers rose around them. "The spine is in place," Etta said with approval. "Now let's raise its ribs." Working in teams, they lifted the side supports, secured the corners, and began forming the tower's skeletal frame. It creaked and groaned, but stood proud under the weight of the villagers' determination. Afternoon. Tension and teamwork. A sudden gust of wind wobbled one of the vertical supports. A shout went up, and several villagers rushed forward to brace it. Maya barked quick commands, organizing ropes and counterweights. With her calm guidance, the crisis passed, and the frame stood firm once more. Lila, watching from a distance with baskets of food and herbs for breaks, whispered to herself, "She leads like she's done this 100 times before." A shadow cast. As the sun set behind the western ridge, the rough timber skeleton of the watchtower stood silhouetted against the orange sky, bare yet majestic. Ree leaned against a fence, tired but glowing. "Tomorrow we floor it, then stairs. Won't be long before we're lighting fires on the top." Maya stood with her arms folded, eyes steady. "One day soon, someone will climb up there, look out, and feel safe." The villagers lit torches and lanterns, gathering for a simple meal by the base of the tower. Music played faintly. Children danced under the half-built frame, their laughter echoing into the trees. The watchtower had begun to rise. But more than that, so had the village's hopes. Here is day 19, stairs and beacon platform of the watchtower, continuing Maya's story in Eld Hollow. Day 19, stairs and beacon platform. Morning, spiraling up. The morning fog clung to the half-built frame as Maya climbed the temporary scaffolding with a set of blueprints tucked under her arm. Behind her, Ree and the carpenter crew followed, ready with timber, nails, and tools. Maya pointed to the inner beams. "We'll install a spiral staircase along this support. It'll keep the center open and strong." With precision, they began fixing angled steps, each secured to the central pillar and outer frame. The spiral slowly climbed, hugging the tower like ivy. "Feels like walking into the sky," Ree whispered after testing the first few steps. Midday, the beacon platform. By noon, workers began lifting the cross beams that would form the top platform. Each beam was hoisted by rope and muscle, tied with care. From below, villagers watched in awe as the top began to take shape. The floorboards were set, a square platform with enough room for a signal fire, watchman shelter, and guard post. Maya oversaw every nail, making sure it could bear weight, wind, and time. "This isn't just wood," she said aloud. "It's our first line of sight, a symbol." As the sun dipped low, a small iron brazier was placed at the center of the platform. Lila arrived with dried herbs and resinous wood. A torch was passed up. Maya lit the brazier. Smoke rose gently into the twilight sky. The villagers below clapped and cheered, while children pointed toward the glowing ember on the high tower. Etta crossed her arms and murmured, "That light will be seen for miles, maybe even by those who forgot this village existed." Maya stood atop the stairs, take wind in her silver-streaked hair, a faint smile on her lips. "Let them know. Eld Hollow stands." Here is day 20, watchtower completion, continuing Maya's peaceful but purposeful journey in Eld Hollow. Day 20, watchtower completion. Morning, the final touches. Maya arrived early, the crisp air carrying the scent of fresh-cut wood. The villagers gathered, excited for what would be the final day of construction. Children ran in circles around the base, while the older folk brought food and tools. Ree handed Maya a bundle of finished shingles. "Roof's ready, boss. Let's crown this tower." Together with the apprentice crew, they climbed the spiraled stairs, now solid and sanded smooth. The top was already strong, but today it would be made complete. The roof went up like a puzzle, timbers locked together and overlaid with handmade shingles. Lila and the healer's assistant hung small bundles of protective herbs and bells beneath the roof frame, a folk tradition to ward off storms and misfortune. "If nothing else, they sound nice in the wind," Maya said with a smile. Afternoon, reinforcement and sealing. The crew reinforced the supports, added extra iron bracings, and sealed any gaps with resin. A pulley system was added to hoist supplies and messages quickly. Etta tested the lookout scope, a tube Maya had crafted from salvaged glass and polished brass. "You can see the whole forest ridge from here, even the path beyond the bridge." Villagers took turns climbing up, marveling at the view. Even the elder council members visited the platform, awestruck and speechless. "We've not had a structure like this in generations," one whispered. "A place to guard and gather." At sunset, Maya stood beneath the tower as villagers raised a small flag, simple linen, stitched with a green pine and a silver spark. It wasn't a kingdom's crest. It was theirs. She addressed the crowd. "This tower isn't just wood and stone. It's proof that we build, protect, and watch over each other. This is Eld Hollow's eyes now. We'll never be caught unaware again." Cheers rang out. Lanterns were hung on every level. The beacon was stoked, and as night settled, the watchtower glowed softly above the village, like a guardian watching from above.